Do you remember the day the war ended?
Oh, yes. VE Day. Well, I'm talking, yes, I mean, it really ended in VJ Day, didn't it? But I think most people think of VE Day as the end of it. Yes, I do remember. I was back in London then. Oh, yes, that was a marvellous night.
Do you remember what happened? Could you describe what happened on that day?
Well, to me?
Yeah.
Well, when we came off duty, it was the evening, and about 6 of us decided to go up to the West End. We were stationed, funnily enough, in Hampstead at Westfield College, which had been taken over by the Admiralty. And we were in uniform, and so everybody, if you were in uniform, of course, everybody adored you. And we were hugged, and we were kissed, and we were slapped on the back as we were walking toward the West End. We were dragged into pubs, we were given drinks. And on the way, we picked up a little naval bugler. And he was as tight as a tick. And he was blowing on his bugle, and he joined us. And we got down Baker Street, and there was a big store there, and there was still there, called Daniel Neal, and it had a huge Union Jack on a pole just outside its main entrance. And so we simply took it. We took it out of its holder, and this was our pole. And we had the drunken bugler and the Union Jack, and we were marching along, and people were joining us, naval people, sailors were joining us, and we got to Piccadilly. We got a whole lot more, and then we marched on to Trafalgar Square, and we got about 100 now in our column. We were leading it with the Union Jack and the bugler. And of course, the Navy was out in force in Trafalgar Square, because there was Nelson, up on his column. And we picked up a huge column, a number of people there, naval, matlers. And we went into is it Pall Mall or the Mall? The Mall, isn't it? Toward Buckingham Palace. That's what we were aiming for. With this vast sort of phalanx of naval people, and buglers still at it. And we got in front of the palace, and of course there were thousands there. They were all screaming, "We want the king! We want the king! We want the king!" And the royals came out time and again onto the balcony. And then there was suddenly a sort of hush. You know, in a crowded room sometimes it happens. Everything stops, doesn't it? You don't know why. And then this hush over this huge crowd. And from a very drunken, beery voice came out, "I want the Queen. My God, I want the Queen." Total collapse. Anyway, we left there about, I don't know, so it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And we were all absolutely exhausted. And the bugler subsided gently into the gutter with his bugle. We just left him there. And we were marching back, well, not marching, but sort of struggling back towards Hampstead. And a taxi drew up. Oh, incidentally, I should say that we returned the Union Jack. A taxi drew up. Bloke looked out of the window, and not the taxi driver, the passenger, and said, "Where are you going, girls?" And we said, "Oh, we're going up to Hampstead, Killapore Avenue." "Oh," he said, "hop in, I'll give you a lift. I'm going to Hampstead." It was Jack Buchanan. Now, I don't suppose that means a thing to you, but he was an absolute, or he was the sort of Rudolph Valentino of the musical stage for generations of, wartime and just before the war. And this was absolute bliss, of course, to be taken all the way back to Hampstead with Jack Buchanan. It was like, being picked up by Elton John or somebody like that.
So, sorry, just try and get an understanding of the timing right. So, had you been in work most of the day on VE Day and then come out?
Sorry, say again.
So, on VE Day, were you working at first, then came out and joined the celebrations?
Oh, yes, working during the day, and we came out at night. Mm-hmm. About 6 of us. We were all off duty, so we went out.
So was it hard to get through the streets with so many people around?
Not to begin with, but because as you got further into the West End, but mostly people seemed to congregate. You know, they were all coming from all directions. And there was a huge mass in Piccadilly Circus, an enormous mass in Trafalgar Square, and of course outside Buckingham Palace it was just chaotic.
Did you get to see any of the royals come out?
Oh yes. And Churchill, he came out with them. Yes, they were very good. I forget what time they ceased to come out, but they did their stuff.
So was it dark by the time you got to Buckingham Palace?
Hmm?
Was it evening by the time you got to Buckingham Palace?
Yes, it was. Oh yes, we didn't set off until the evening because we'd been on duty. Yeah, it was night time.
But had you heard already that the war was over?
Oh yes, it had been over. But I can't remember. They must have had lights, mustn't we? And I can't remember when the lights officially came on, whether they came on that day. I think they must have done. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen anything, would you? But I can't recall that.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
The black hour was really rather lovely. We could see the stars and everything so much clearer. And of course, it's very, very quiet in London. There's hardly any traffic. Hardly any people, really. So everybody, they joined up. They're all over the place. Very different London from what it is now.